there. That's why I'm doing this.
Does that look like a George Floyd protester?
Guys, we know from the 2020 George Floyd protests that the Proud Boys and other hate organizations infiltrated these protests to sow chaos and division in the media. So every time we give in to the narrative that protesters are destroying anything, we are giving in to that narrative instead of highlighting videos like I just showed you. And that was in this Congress.gov report. Why was that man walking around with an umbrella, you say? So he was easily identifiable to the rest of his mates. And if you go online, there's video after video after video like that. Okay? But I would highly implore anybody that's blaming the LA protests and any damage and destruction specifically on the protesters, stop. Stop. They're fighting against oppression. Stop valuing private property over people, first of all. But stop valuing this narrative. Or even the narrative that it was only because of COVID that there were so many people on the streets. No, when black people have suffered enough, they stand up. And for once, the rest of the country stood with them. That's why those protests were so intense. Because a black man we watched for 7 minutes suffer. I'm sorry, I forgot how long the actual video is, but we all watched the black people around George Floyd and Derek Chauvin beg for that man's life. And that's the side you guys want to protect now? To give them any leg to stand on? The militarized police departments throughout the country that you can't tell the difference between an LAPD officer and the National Guard? Stop blaming protesters, man. Please. Peace. Hey, Stephen Miller, do you think your kids are calling Elon daddy, or is it just your wife? Don't worry, I'm sure she's finally at least getting an orgasm. You know, it's kind of funny with MAGA. Every time they talk about protecting women, it ends up in one pew-pewing her in the stomach just trying to get home to her apartment. Every time they talk about national populism, it comes as fascism. Every time they talk about freedom of speech, it comes in suppression. You fascists are not going to win. Okay? You're not going to win. A is, you're led by a fucking moron. Literally, like one of the dumbest human beings alive. He's just evil. He's not smart. He's just evil. And eventually, y'all are all going to fuck up enough. But this dude right here, I hope you rot in hell. Hey, Israel, I'm going to go ahead and say the quiet part out loud to you. No, you do not have the right to exist as a racist ethno-state. You have the right to exist as a peaceful democracy. One where you're not, causing a genocide to your neighbors. One where you're not controlling their freedom of movement. One where you're not starving them to death. One where you're not, kidnapping Greta Thunberg in international waters. What moral high ground do you people think you have? You don't. You have none. Your moral compass is so fucked up, I'm surprised you make it home each night. Release the hostages. Allow aid into Gaza. Little kids are starving. But you don't see them as human beings, do you? But I'm expected to see you as one. Empathy for you, compassion for you, hatred for the people that don't look like us, right? The tale's old as time. Down with the brown, right, Israel? Stop scrolling, give me 30 seconds of your time, and I'll prove Kamala won.
Specialty, the numbers, which I usually did for attorneys general and the U.S. Department of Justice and other government agencies. And so these are calculations I would do, and I have done for federal courts. So we had, are you ready for this? According to the Elections Assistance Commission, the official numbers, we had 4,776,706 voters purged from the voter rolls wrongly. And I'm not making this up. I had the guys from that work with the Microsoft and Amazon go through every single purged name in two states, Georgia and Wisconsin. We took those two states. And we found, for example, in Georgia, that 198,000 voters, we actually have their names and addresses were wrongly removed from the voter rolls, and you'll be shocked, overwhelmingly, voters of color. In Wisconsin, almost every voter removed by the purge was either a black voter in Milwaukee or a student in Madison.
That's Greg Palast, former FBI forensic investigator, also currently works for the New York Times and The Guardian, telling you that they targeted black people in this past election to remove their names from the voting register. But there's more.
This brand new business this year of vigilante voter challenges. We talked about that on the air, where for the first time, very first time, an individual voter like Greg Palast can say, Tom Hartman does not live in Portland. He shouldn't be allowed to vote. This is new. A third of 317,000 voters were challenged by the beginning of August. NAACP said it was over 200,000 just Georgia alone by election day. We had 2.12 million mail-in ballots rejected, and that wouldn't mean anything if it were random. It's not random, Tom. According to the state of Washington, which did a study, you're 400%.
He goes on to state that you're 400 times more likely in the state of Washington to have your ballot thrown out if you're a black person. And that's what they did in Wisconsin. That's what they did in Georgia. That's what they did down the line, guys. I did a video about this literally maybe 2 months after the election. Please share this. Please get this information out. Like, everybody needs to know that information, regardless if anything comes of it. Everybody needs to know about that. We don't have to go down any conspiracy rabbit holes. It's right there in front of our face. This message is for Dave Portnoy. You want to make anti-Semitism and making jokes about Jewish people illegal. I agree with you. If we're going to do the same for black people. Every veiled racist comment, every N-word, every time you belittle a black person, you land your ass in jail. But I have a feeling you're not going to want to sign up for my end of the bargain. Because, Dave, you like racism. You do it all the time. You just don't like it against your people. You know, it's funny, when we have people fighting for their Mexican heritage in whatever other country they may be from, they all get told to go back home. But we don't do that with that blue and white flag, do we, Dave? They get asked at the New York City mayor debate, do they have a right to exist? Well, I'll ask you, Dave, do black people have a right to exist? Should they have the same opportunities as you in America? Then stop doing your veiled racism against black people. I know it's worse behind closed doors because I know people like you. You're the boss everybody's had in their life and they hate him. The dude that was born on third base and thinks he's hit a home run. Why don't you stick to things you're good at, like dyeing your hair and bleaching your asshole?